Today I'm talking about episode 15, which is Homecoming. This is the second Charlie flashback episode, and it deals with Claire returning and Ethan showing up to cause some chaos. Again, this is another solid episode. I mean, it's almost brought down a little bit by the flashbacks. The flashbacks aren't great. They're probably the weakest flashbacks we get this season. It's just kind of Charlie screwing up in his life, and then like I don't know, just it's pointless. I mean, I guess it's just a little bit of character development for him, and like what he does towards the end of the episode. Uh, and really the whole this whole episode is really just devoted to the showdown with Ethan, if you want to call it that. There's no like B plot. I mean, the closest thing to a B plot is like just Jin experiencing these things. Like you always feel bad for Jin in this episode because he's just minding his own business, and Charlie starts talking nonsense to him because he doesn't understand anything, and then he just gets hit by a rock and gets knocked out, and like he doesn't know what's going on here. You feel sorry for Jin. Uh, but that's like the closest thing you get to like a B plot. And again, the whole thing just revolves around Claire showing up. She doesn't remember anything. Convenient amnesia. I'm not really sure why they even gave her amnesia. I'm not sure the point of it. I mean, was it just so that they can have a, a flashback in season two when they do maternity leave? Which I don't know if that's the best episode either. But I guess they don't want to reveal. I guess they don't want to reveal too much about the others at this point. So it's convenient for the story for Claire to not remember anything to avoid revealing any important details that might come up later. But and again, this whole thing is just like centered around like the trap they set for Ethan. You get them pulling out the guns. It's kind of like it's almost like an epic moment. Then like assembling the squad, like they're handing out the guns. You get Jack and Locke and Saeed and Sawyer and Kate. They're all they all arm up and are in the trees. Which I guess like the others just didn't really expect them to have guns at this point, I would assume. Uh, Ethan would probably only really know about the one gun that the marshal had, and he would assume that there were no bullets left for that gun. Uh, you don't something that we don't see, which we wouldn't see yet, we would see later on, is we don't really see how the others react to Ethan's death, like how that whole thing plays off. We see the reaction to Goodwin's death. We see a little bit more of that with the other woman, which is like, in my opinion, the second worst episode of Lost. It's just like a sequel to Stranger in Strangeland. And somehow it's a sequel to that episode. It's weird. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a solid episode. The action is really cool. You get another death, I believe. I just saw this. I should know this. I believe Scott dies. I believe Scott dies. He becomes the first person to get buried in the cemetery, which would become known as Boone Hill. It's not Scott Hill. It's Boone Hill, even though Scott dies first. But which I know at some point I gotta talk about the whole Scott and Steve thing. I plan on devoting a whole episode just for Scott and Steve because there's a lot of confusion between Scott and Steve, like even behind the scenes, which is gonna be tough to get into. Uh, but yeah, and I gotta say, uh, Ethan is really good in this. Like the actor William, I don't know how to pronounce this name, but like Mapother, maybe. It it looks like Map Other, but it's probably not Map Other. It's probably like Mapother or Mapother or something along those lines. He's really good. He plays this like creepy, menacing really well. Uh, but and I talk about transitions again. I'm going to keep talking about transitions. Apparently, this doesn't really transition into the next episode too much. I know we got Outlaws, which is a Sawyer episode. I guess just Sawyer's presence in general carries over in here. But I mean, I don't know. I don't have. I feel like I don't have much to say about this episode. Honestly, I mean, weak flashbacks. But it's kind of like an exciting sort of culmination here. Just I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about this episode if I'm being completely honest. I mean, it was a good episode. Definitely like a middle ground episode. Not as overall not as impactful to the entire series as something like Deus Ex Machina or Do No Harm, which we're going to be getting later on in the show, or even in translation. But yeah, I mean, it was a good episode. I kind of wish I had more to say about it, but it's so self-contained to this season. It's like borderline filler to the rest of the show. Because it doesn't have this big of an impact. Like I don't know, I should stop talking because I'm just gonna be rambling and saying things that don't even make any sense. But yeah, so up next again we've got Outlaws. Looking forward to that, and I will see you guys there.